Hi, I'm Grace Gori.
And I'm Aurelius Gori.
Together, we're Gori Voice Studios.
How many times have you heard choral directors, voice coaches, or voice teachers say, "Sing from your diaphragm"? In order to make sense of this statement, it helps first to know what and where your diaphragm is, along with a few other parts you'll need in order to sing.
So, what is your diaphragm? It is a big dome-shaped muscle that sits inside your rib cage and basically divides it all the way across. The edges of the dome attach to the bottom of your breastbone or sternum, plus there's a kind of a tail which connects to the front part of some of your backbones or spinal vertebrae. Above your diaphragm, in what your doctor calls your thorax, you have your lungs and your heart. Below your diaphragm, in the area called the abdomen, you have all of your digestive organs.
The lungs are elastic organs comprised of many branching tiny bronchial tubes ending in billions of tiny sacs called alveoli. Our lungs are located inside our rib cage and completely fill it except for the heart, spine, and the main bronchial tubes.
Basically, you can think of your lungs like big, wet, stretchy sponges.
Lungs contain no muscular tissue, therefore they cannot move by themselves. They need to be acted upon by muscles moving the structures around them in order to change size and shape.
Let's take a moment now to clear up some basics about how muscles work. Muscles are made of individual fibers. Each muscle fiber has two states of existence. It can either be on or contracted, or off, which is to say relaxed. Since when muscles contract, they pull. This means that muscle fibers can only pull. They cannot push. In order to allow movement in opposite directions, our bodies have developed pairs of muscles with opposite functions. For example, the biceps muscle contracts when I want to lift something heavy in this direction. Now, if I want to lift my weight while straightening my arm, my biceps muscle can't push my arm up. My triceps muscle, however, is located here, and that contracts to straighten my arm.
The ribs show us a great example of this pairing because they contain muscles which can both raise and lower them.
That's right, your ribs can move. They're hinged to your breastbone in front via flexible cartilage and to the vertebrae of your spine in the back via joints. They swing up and down, rather like bucket handles.
One set of muscles swings the ribs upwards. Just next to them, on the inside portion of the ribs, there is an opposing set of muscles which lowers them. When the handles are moved up, the rib cage is expanded and made wider all around. When the bucket handles are moved downwards, the rib cage is narrower again. We call these two opposing sets of muscles the internal and external intercostals. The lungs are glued to the inside of the rib cage with a layer of connective tissue called the pleura. When the ribs are raised, the whole rib cage is made wider all around, and because they are stuck to it, the lungs are stretched wider too.
Now, if nothing else were to change, the air pressure outside the body would be higher than that inside the expanded lungs. Ever hear the old saying, nature abhors a vacuum? In order to equalize the air pressure inside your body with that outside, air rushes in through your nose and or mouth, and we call this inhaling. When we make the lungs smaller again, which lowering the ribs will do, in order to equalize the pressure, air rushes out. We call this exhaling.
The pleural sac glue around the lungs also sticks the diaphragm to the lungs at their bottom side. The muscle fibers of the diaphragm fan out from the center top of the dome towards the edges, so when it contracts, the diaphragm flattens and moves downward. Because they are stuck to it, this stretches the lungs downwards too.
Here again, air needs to rush in to equalize the air pressure inside and outside the body.
And since the diaphragm is so wide, the more it moves downwards, the more air gets drawn into you. Your diaphragm is therefore a muscle of inhalation. When it contracts, we inhale. Now for relaxed exhalation, such as when we're sleeping, When that diaphragm has finished its contraction and we've just inhaled, after that it simply relaxes up into its higher domed up position due to the elastic nature of the lungs themselves, gently pulling it back up. For singing, however, we need more consistency and specialized control of our airflow during exhalation.
This is where things get interesting. You may have noticed that we haven't yet mentioned one muscle that has an opposite function to the diaphragm, and that's because technically there isn't one. Or to be more precise, just one.
And since the diaphragm can't actively push itself up to have us exhale, what can we do to exhale strongly and consistently enough to sing? Tune into our next video to find out.